You've probably heard of a career coach, someone who gives you tips to help you climb the corporate ladder. Well, our next guest is not about the hustle culture and calls herself, the anti-career coach. She also says Gen Z and millennial workers aren't lazier than older generations. To explain more, please welcome to the show, Danielle Roberts.
Yes.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Shout out to Tori using a little Italian excuse me over there, huh?
Scusi.
Scusi. Danielle, let's jump right in. I got to know, first off, you say that you're an anti-career coach. I got to know what that means.
Yeah, great question. As an anti-career coach, I'm here to try and change society's relationship with work and challenging the conventional idea of what career success and happiness are supposed to look like in society. As a millennial, and many of us, we all did what we were supposed to do. We went to college, we wanted to land our dream jobs, and what we're experiencing now is this collective burnout and struggling to make ends meet. So my entire goal is to help people advocate for their needs in the workforce with the ultimate goal to create a more human-first future of work.
I am down with it. Recently, videos of Gen Z and millennials complaining about working 9 to 5 have gone viral, causing older generations to call them lazy and whiny. So why do you think younger people are so turned away by the typical 9 to 5?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't believe that calling out some of these antiquated systems that don't work for the modern day workforce are lazy or whiny or complaining. I think it's incredibly brave for people to show up online and to demand systemic change and hold these institutions accountable to meet the needs of workers today. And when you think about the 9 to 5, that started in the 1920s. That's like a century ago. And we've had a lot of technological innovations that have literally created the time and space for all of us across generations to work less and have more time. But that's not what we're seeing. Across generations, people are working harder than ever. Over half of Gen Z has a side hustle. Almost half of millennials have a side hustle to make ends meet. And we really simply just want more flexibility, especially if we are getting the job done. We're not saying we don't want to work. We just need the space to rest and refill our cup so we can show up in our lives, work included, as engaged and energized as possible. And we've seen a lot of data that backs this up that benefits employers too. There are 4-day workweek studies that show that employees are more productive, and it's lowering healthcare costs and employee turnover costs for employers. So it's a win-win all around.
All right, well, I'm going to speak for our audience here a little bit when I say this, but, you know, I think that there was past generations that they took a lot of pride from their work, and they took that out into the world with them, you know, just working one job for their whole career a lot of times. But a lot of younger folks are jumping ship and changing jobs every few years. So, one, why do you think that is? And also, can you get pride from a job that you're only going to hold for a few months?
Yeah, and those generations should be proud. If it's what worked for them, that's absolutely wonderful, and I can understand why they stayed. They had incentives like pensions. They could afford homes. We do not have access to those same incentives today. Employees who stay with their companies today can expect an average 2 to 3% salary increase year over year, whereas if they are changing companies every 3 years, they can lead to much bigger salary increases. And we have to return to the conversation of what is work for in general. It's to give us a paycheck, and we need to be able to provide for ourselves and for our families. And with the rising cost of living, if we have to job hop to do that, then that's exactly what we need to do to increase our lifetime earning potential and hopefully be able to retire one day.
Interesting. Actually, so how would you define the American dream today?
Ooh, as it stands, I don't think that the American dream exists, especially not that it was sold to us. The average American worker is making $60K. The average home price is over $400K. So you would need to make over $100K just to qualify for the home that, you know, is on the market. So we were sold that if we worked 40 hours, we could afford a home, be able to build a family, and be able to take a vacation and enjoy life every so often. But we're just not seeing that, and it's reaching a critical point where it's becoming unsustainable across the board.
Interesting points. You know, a lot of interesting
points.
Great, well
said.
Yeah. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us today. DBL Nation, you can follow Danielle on social media at I'm Danielle Roberts. Thanks again for coming in and giving us that point of view.